much for coming out this afternoon, early evening. My name is Angelique Jackson. I'm one of the senior entertainment writers over at Variety, and it is my pleasure to be celebrating this kind of very special screening of Dr. Odyssey. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and without really further ado, because you're not here to hear me talk, but you are here to meet the men of Dr. Odyssey. So bringing out first, we have Teale. This one. Yes. Not that I'm sending you away. I wish you could stay closer, but I have to bring out executive producer and actor Don Johnson. Certainly not least, we have another of our executive producers and stars, Joshua Jackson. I'm glad we went with the whole ocean blue motif and everything, really kind of amping up the sea life. And actually, Josh, I want to start with you on this idea, because how often have you executive produced before, or is this the first series?
This is the second series.
Okay.
So not something that I'm totally unfamiliar with, and I've been doing it for quite a long time. So I have witnessed others do it, and it's been a good experience in general, not because of executive producing, but to have. I can't really take credit for any of the good parts of the show. So the Ryan Murphy and his world puts together an unbelievable crew of people. And they, because they're doing so much work, have the ability to find, develop, and retain talent. And we are the beneficiaries of that. We have unbelievable people working at every level on our show that come from, as they call it, Ryan Murphy world. And it has made that possible because it's an ambitious show to be able to do it in 8 days at the level of sort of design and detail that Ryan demands.
8 days is not a very short amount of, 8 days is a very short amount of time for creating a weekly episode. What does it take to pull off what we just saw?
Well, it takes 175 people. And it takes, we obviously do the on-camera piece, but it takes 175 people at pre-production and post to be able to pull this off and have it look slick and beautiful and seamless and easy, right? It's hard to make things look easy. And it really is a testament to the talent that Ryan and his team have fostered, nurtured, and retained, and also, to the unbelievable talent base that's here in Los Angeles. We shoot this here, and for a long time, it's important for our community, and for a long time this was the central base of production. And there's so much talent here, and he is very good at grooming and retaining talent, and we have, from our costumers to our designers to our camera people to our props people to our craft service, which is actually the best craft service I've ever had on set. It is really a testament to the broader Ryan Murphy world that he has been able to foster, nurture, and then retain all of this incredible behind the camera talent.
Don, I want to ask you about Captain Robert, because he is obviously the captain of this ship, but he also has this just amazing compassion and empathy to him, on top of being, of course, very cheerful. But what was it about him that made you so intrigued to be a part of this, both again in front of and behind the camera?
Well, Ryan's willingness to let me do what I want to do with the character, as opposed to what on the page you would expect. I saw the captain as a different kind of character. I saw him as a father that loves his people and loves his crew, and it's a family on cruise ships, not unlike what we have on film sets. And so rather than building a character that everyone would be familiar with as a captain, I wanted to build one that you could see the years of wisdom and compassion and love that he feels for the passengers and for the crew, and to be available 24/7 to make their world good because they make his world good.
Sean, tell me a little bit about Tristan. What was it that initially got you interested in him?
It wasn't the dancing. so sorry.
I was told that dance battle was your idea.
Oh, lies and slander. I won't bite the bait. I won't do it. What about? Funny enough, Don. To touch on what Don's saying, I think all these characters can be read in a certain way when you read anything, right? You can read it a simple way. You can read it in a way that you're projecting your own things. I think when I read Tristan, who was so much fun, but also he didn't read like a particularly great person. And some of his behaviours, let's say, were slightly more nefarious than I would have appreciated doing myself. And so I tried to... And so I tried to... what I loved doing with Tristan was probably making him a bit sillier and a bit more flappable and a bit goofier than he would have maybe been initially. But in the pursuit of just like, I think, ostensibly he presents as like confident, like he's not going to carry the world, and actually he's deeply insecure and has loads of problems. So, like most of us here, we do quite well at covering these things. So I really loved him very quickly, and I read in both accents actually, and I think maybe the British nature of things helped somewhat. And it gave a sense that the crew was international as well, which is nice.
His American accent sucks. That's just not true. I just made that up.
Yeah.
That's another thing. We just make a lot of shit up.
So then I guess then, Josh, then it was your idea instead, was the Despacito.
No. Yeah, we didn't do a lot of dancing after that, and I don't think it's because of your dance skills. I think they saw the dailies of me dancing and they thought, that's enough of that.
They said, there's one way that Dr. Max is maybe less charismatic. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I thought you did a very nice job.
That's very kind of you.
Well, what was it? When because you, as Dr. Maxon coming onto the ship is really kind of the eyes into the Odyssey. What was it that was so appealing to you when Ryan reached out with just kind of an idea of this?
Well, it was the sentence that I remember the most when he first told me about this story, this idea. He really didn't talk about the story. First, he said, we've all been through it these last 4 or 5 years. In this industry, we had COVID and then the strike, but everybody with COVID and just, it's been a heavy time. And he said, I want to make a show that feels like the opportunity to breathe out. Like we've all kind of been holding our breath, and I just want to have an opportunity to just breathe out, to have a show that is, by its nature, happy, right? We're the happy Ryan Murphy show, and we have, he's a very imaginative mind, and some of his imagination, you may have noticed, a little dark. But then he has this other side of him, right? That is the guy who created Glee, right? And that's kind of where we are in his mind and imagination. And I just thought to myself, man, I would love that. It's been so long since I've played an uncomplicated man, and to have the mission statement be for us with our audience to say, hey, come with us for 45 minutes. We're going to take you on a ride. It's going to have a bunch of stuff. You'll hopefully laugh. There'll be drama. There'll be romance. And at the end of the 45 minutes, just like in the old days, you're good. We're going to wrap it up. You're going to be fine, right? Like this does not have to be high drama. It's just like it's a level of trust that we hope to build with the audience. It's like just come with us for 45 minutes, and I promise you, at the end of the 45 minutes, you're going to be like, I feel good.
And a lot of the drama is very much like in the interpersonal. So obviously, that moment is also kind of a part of establishing this love triangle that you have. Obviously, Philippa Sue is not here today, so she can't, bring that.
You can say whatever we want about her. She's not here to
It
defend
means
herself.
she's not here, and
So let me tell you
Too
about
bad
that
for her.
diva.
It's so hard to pretend to be in love with such an incredible, talented Broadway star.
It's nice to not be upstaged by 3 people today. Just one of the cast members can upstage me today.
Well, I will ask you this. What is it like playing that dynamic? And Sean, I'll start with you on that idea, because you were just saying about how Tristan is actually secretly very insecure. So he's acting out because he's actually really heartbroken that his new maybe friend just broke bro code.
Yeah, it's actually, the way that they edited that scene is vicious. Yeah. I was myself knowing the story, having lived it 14 times in one day, and I still was amazed at how brutal it felt. Yeah, I think Tristan's sort of insecurities come from, there's a moment later on with his mother about, he recognizes, as any character does, they go through an arc in his story. Part of it is about growing self-awareness and recognizing what his insecurities are and where they manifest and how he presents them. And part of it is, in specific, loving women in positions of authority that do not care about him. And so Mum did it once, and now Avery does that, and he's sort of caught up in that when you meet him in this first episode. And as I was saying, he's a bit of a cad. He likes doing that, and that's all very fun, and he's sort of very punchy in that way. But as soon as Dr. Odyssey,
The crossover you didn't know you.
as you referenced the previous job being really complicated, Dr. Death is now Dr. Odyssey. Because of Max's arrival, that everything gets flung up in the air. Now I have to face this person and face the things that I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it, because I can see that they have a very clear connection. And so it forces Tristan to not only acting very sillily, but also changing the way that he approaches things, because he sees in himself what's maybe wrong.
Joshua, before I hear about your side of that triangle, I do want to make mention of that slip there of Dr. Death, because this is not technically the first, well, actually, this is, I guess, technically the first actual doctor that you're playing. So what was it like to get down the medical jargon on this version?
The jargon, weirdly, Christopher Dunst, not big on the jargon, also not big on the doctoring. So the jargon is a trick. I have always had respect for friends of mine who did their time on ER or Grey's, and I have a whole new respect for it now, doing it day after day, because sometimes there are some unsayable terms in the medical world, and I'm impressed with doctors who are able to say them when they need to say them, but goodness, it is hard sometimes to get all those words out. But that is my feeling on that stuff for us is not truth, but truthiness, right? Like, I don't think I'm probably going to go work in an ER at the end of this show. You never know. Yeah, TBD. But exactly what we're trying to get across is like the feeling that these people know what they're doing, right? And so it's really more than me learning about what a transesophageal echocardiogram actually is. It's just saying it with authority and making sure that you think that I know what I'm talking about.
Or singing it with
Or singing it, yeah. Oftentimes have to sing it to make it make sense. But yeah, the jargon is not the easiest part of the show.
Tell me about that trick. You have to sing it sometimes?
So,
Sorry.
So one possibility is I'm losing my mind. It's possible, I don't want to rule it out, but oftentimes I will find the medical jargon really difficult to say as like plain English, so I will have to make a ditty for myself so I can learn the words, and often that comes out as very annoying songs. Yeah.
You guys are leading us ever closer to that inevitable Broadway episode.
Man, we are trying! Okay, thank you for bringing this up, because I have been waging a one-man war in public to have this episode happen. It is insane to have Philippa Sue on your television show, on any television show. If it was The Sopranos, I don't care, but on our show where you can really do whatever you want every week, and to have her not have sung a song or danced a dance, I don't understand what we're doing. I'm very confused. So I'm gonna say, once again, for attribution, Philippa Sue demanded, it's not true, but it's truthy, that she demanded that we do the Broadway show. And I think we should do that. So since she's not here to defend herself, I would like to once again attribute this to Philippa Sue demanding that she do a song and dance number on Dr. Odyssey.
And if you knew Philippa Sue, that is hilarious in itself. She is the most undemanding person that you'd ever want to be with, and probably has more talent in her third middle finger or whatever than everybody else in the show. She's awesome. Yes. She can do physical comedy. She can do everything. In fact, we're going to make her do it.
We made her do everything except for sing and dance.
Yeah.
And I think we
She's
have
been
her
a
on
doctor,
live
she's done the
stream.
drama, she's done, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we don't. Oh, she doesn't care.
Well, Don, I mean, I was just going to ask you what your dance number would be, but we can always move on past that.
Mine is going to be that nice, soft, easy listening music out there on the dance floor with a beautiful woman. It's in my contract.
You already began to fulfill that contract with, one Miss Shania Twain. For those of you who need to catch up on the next 7 episodes of Dr. Odyssey and are going to go home and do that right now on Hulu, you will get to see. Shania Twain is one of y'all's earliest guest stars on this show. What has it been like, kind of rotating in all of these amazing talents?
The other day, Rumor Willis was on the show. And Bruce and I go way back. I gave him his first job on Miami Vice, and she brought her daughter with her to the show. And so I took a picture holding her daughter with her, and I sent it to Demi, and I said, "Now I've held them both."
wow, that's so cool.
I mean, that is something that is pretty exciting about this show. Not just the guest stars, but also, you have, from Miami Vice to Nash Bridges and on, kind of contributed so much iconic television and are continuing to do so with this series. I mean, folks are really enjoying this one. What is it about, especially like the television as a medium, that has you still so engaged?
I'm glad you asked that question. I love television. I love the immediacy of it. I love the demanding part of it. I love the challenge of it. And I love the bring it now. And everybody, all these guys, the reason that we have this kind of love affair going on among our whole cast is we can bring it. And we can deliver it right now. I mean, they're so talented. I'm so grateful that I even have a job, and to get to work with these talented people and the guest stars. Shania Twain was nervous as could be, and we all just cuddled her and brought her into it, and she did a great job. And there's just so many people. I mean, I don't think I can say who's coming up because there are episodes that haven't aired, but you're going to be surprised.
And just, I love that question, and I love that answer. And to go back to the guest star thing, and to just pick up on what you're saying, like this is one of the things that I love about our show, is that in many ways it feels like an old style of show, right? Where you have guest stars who come in. The format of our show, because we have guests coming onto the boat, lends itself to that. And Ryan, God bless him, just had this idea of like, yeah, why don't we do something that feels kind of familiar, right? and we get these unbelievably talented people who come in and get to play with us for a week, right? And we get to have guest star. Oh, sorry.
And actors and actresses that can hit it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And it creates this sense of play that we have on set, which I think translates into the hopefully joyful nature of the show itself. And so it's been amazing to have, you have this basically fresh blood coming in every week, and a new wonderful person gets to come in and play their scenes, and it keeps the experience fresh for us, because we always have a new person coming in, or a group of people coming in the guests. And also I think it's the beauty of our show, is that it always has this sort of light fun. You never know what you're going to get, because you never know who the next guest stars are going to be, and you never know what that's going to add to the mix.
And the extraordinary thing about Dr. Odyssey is that, like a dream, we laugh about this because we just go in and out, and there are like some things where we read, oh, the dream has made a turn. and just to be open and accepting about where in the hell this dream is going to take us. But it's the joy that we have together. I think you just said it really well. We're lucky. Yeah.
So you mean you weren't anticipating an episode focused around the rubber ducky community?
Hard to anticipate something that you don't know exists.
Hard to anticipate something you never heard of.
Yeah.
That one's definitely more obvious than Broadway Week, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, since we have a quiet moment, I am going to make just one quick announcement. Happy belated birthday, Don.
That wouldn't fucking happen.
Well, Sean and Joshua, since we're making this about Don, what has it been like working with him and having him as your captain on this series?
Well, I thought you were going to ask Don the same thing about producing that you asked Josh, because they do it whether they have the role or not. They're huge problem solvers, hugely collaborative leaders that are very, very generous, and at the same time very, very aware of everything. I think sometimes when someone has done this for so long and has done it so well for so long, it's really hard to abide by someone not quite getting it right, especially when running out of time. But Don is unbelievably generous with not only his ability and his nous, but like your stories, man. The stories are amazing. And so it was everything that you'd hope you would get working with someone of Josh's repute and name, and of Don's, where you just go like, oh, you have all of the great stuff and none of the hubris and none of the sort of jadedness that can come with any of this, or any of the sort of impatience for younger, strange, brown British men. Infuriating and annoying. So it's been a real gift, a real gift that they are honestly as elegant and as cool and as graceful as they appear here at work. True.
And so what I love most about working with you and being around you at work is you approach it from love. When you say that you love working in TV, I want to make sure that everybody understands the depth and intensity of how he means that, right? Because it doesn't begin and end when that performance is done, right? He's there mindful of the 75, 80 people that we have on set with us every day, and you are paying attention to the details, and you do come at it from a sense of love and respect and joy, and wanting to make sure that the environment that you're working in is not just good for you, but good for the people around you, and I find that so tremendously honorable, and it is such a pleasure to you.
To that, Don, again, as an executive producer, but also I was just kind of curious, you've also been behind the camera quite a bit, as well as a director. Could we...
That will not happen on Dr. Odyssey.
Don Johnson demands to direct the Broadway episode.
You're going to die.
Not even enough ER that you were worried about any after. Yeah.
That will be the thing that gets you there, but it will be the thing that gets me my exclusive. So, thank you. Well, I can't really ask you all to quite tease what is coming next on this show, but I will ask you more about, the response you've had from audiences thus far when it comes to, getting that feedback, whether it be on social media or just the various numbers on the show, just how big this audience has been. What does that kind of say to you about, the feeling that you've wanted people to walk away with from this series? Do you feel like you're getting that back?
I mean, yeah, anecdotally, I'm off of social media just for a variety of reasons, so I'm not really getting that feedback, but from friends, family members, people that I bump into, that wow, we remember when shows were like this, right? We remember when when the viewing experience was just simpler, right? And you could jump in really at any point during the season, and you would be comfortable. We have some overarching storylines, but you can jump into basically any episode and be able to enjoy that episode, hopefully, right? And yeah, just that sense of it's been a while since there's been something that the intention of the show is light and fun, right? We do a lot of heavy. I've done a lot of heavy. I was so tired of doing heavy, I wanted to do this show. and I feel like it has been received as it was intended, which is oh yeah, it's okay to just enjoy an hour of TV. Right? Not have it. There's no test at the end of the show. You don't have to call your mom and see if she's okay.
My wife is a normie. In other words, she doesn't know anything about show business. She thinks she does, but she doesn't have a clue. And she watches this show, and when it's over, she says, "That's great. I just feel like I went on vacation." Cute.
That's actually a very good, that is exactly how you feel. You feel like you went on vacation with these folks and really got to luxuriate on this ship, because it's also just such a beautifully, the production design on this show is incredible.
So again, this is...
He's my boss, I don't get to do that. He's making it look...
And
I'm going to get punished for saying this.
We'll talk about this when we're off stage.
Now, boys.
Oh, big boss, uh-oh.
This is the testament to the talent that Ryan keeps around him, right? It is an abnormally pretty show. From all of the design elements to the fact that Ryan dictates that we use fresh cut flowers, which isn't, a strange thing, but it makes a difference. When you see fresh flowers, it says something. When you see plastic flowers, it says another thing. All the wardrobe, not just for the main characters, but I've never worked on a show that did fittings for background performers. And we have background performers who come in and get fit.
And makeup.
And hair and makeup.
And hair and makeup. I mean, I walked in and there were 100 hair and makeup stations. I'm going, oh.
Yeah, and because he's exacting, and he has the people who can execute that exacting standard, and it gives it that feeling, right? Which is, you're on vacation with us for this 45 minutes, and you can just come and really enjoy it and sit back and feel like you get transported.
Don, I'm going to ask you a plot question here real quick. How much does Captain Robert know about this love triangle? How much do you think?
The captain knows everything. Knows everything that happens on the Odyssey.
All-seeing, all-knowing.
And he's a little bit jealous. Of who? Well, that episode's coming.
That's one way to get people to come back.
Don Johnson's going to have a three-way.
I mean, Joshua, you've said this show is spicy.
It's spicy, and honestly, I thought Pippa Sue Demand's musical episode was going to be the headline, but it's not anymore.
Wow.
the MC.
That's what happens when you agree to be the lone, the lone female representative on a panel like this. You just blush throughout the. But I will say, truly, I mean, as you said, this is a show that it transports us off to see with you all. And maybe I'll just ask this, since we can't tease what's to come. Will each of you share with me the episode that you found the most, personally thrilling? When you read the script for XYZ, whether it's the subject matter or what you get to do in that episode, what was the one for each of you that made you the most excited? Sean?
May I speak? May I speak, sir? I think one that Josh might also say, I'm not sure, the pilot was obviously a very big challenge and a new space for us to explore all these things and get, it was just all new and very scary, and I had to dance. But I think maybe episode 6, where we had some challenging things in front of us, especially in the form of network TV structure, and we had some spicy content to work our way around, and I remember leaving that week after, we were in the midst of just a crazy schedule, and very fortunate to have that schedule, but it was crazy nonetheless. And at the end of that Friday night, I'm in the parking lot where they filmed Jaws. And, the tank that they filmed Jaws in is where we park our cars every morning. It's crazy. And the water tower, and we just gone about doing something really, really tricky in the most organic and collaborative and dedicated way with Paris Barkley directing. And I was with Josh and Pippa, and not this time Don. And in that freeway, I left sort of just being really, really grateful that I had that experience with, again, Pippa and Josh were amazing, and Paris, and problems that we had to solve, and to find a way around them was really, really gratifying. So I'll say episode 6, because it was spicy.
You're right, it is a big swing, it's a big emotional arc that episode goes on as well, which goes to show just how many things you can dive into, the silly, the very serious, but all at the end of the day, kind of bringing that light at the end of the episode. Don, what about for you?
Funny enough, episode 6 is emblematic of what we love about the show, in that we can, these are gifted people up here, and they can move so elegantly between drama and comedy and farce and action, and that's the most, for us, that's just the richness of our craft, to be able to be on a show where it demands that you prepare for a 1.5-page monologue, and you prepare for a scene that goes on for 7 pages or 8 pages. And it's more like theater, and it's more like the organic fun that we have. When I remember when I was 18 years old, I was at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, and I was around a bunch of old timers like me back then. And I was in a hurry. I wanted to get how can I get that movie? How can I get that? And the old timers used to say to me, "Chill out, man. This is the best part. The learning is the best part." And that's what's happening here, is that we have the ability to learn new things about our character, and what kind of a challenge would that be for Captain Massey? And oh my God, what must be the pressure on Dr. Bankman and on Nurse Sean, or Nurse Tristan, and it's just joyful, and I love the challenge of it, and I love the immediacy of it, and I love it that when we have people on the show, this is Ryan Murphy's genius. He identifies people who have an energy that is compatible to what the overall makeup of the show is. The 4 of us is just, I think it's, he just has a gift of aligning people's energies and their talent for specific things. And that's what I love that.
Joshua, before I go to you, John, I want to follow up on one of the things you said. What have you learned from this show? What have you learned from playing Captain Robert?
I've learned that the endeavor of finding compassion and empathy and joy in every situation. There, for instance, there's a lot of ways that you can play a man of authority, and what usually people think is that it's some sort of demanding, forceful thing. And I took a different look at it. I said, no, this man commands respect and commands. He asks people to do it, and they want to do it. And so that's who that's who I fashioned about. And he's sort of fashioned after a lot of people that I've known in my life that were incredible communicators, and so you would never feel their authority or never feel their rank. And that's what I wanted to make Captain Massey.
We learned that you look great in naval uniform as well.
Oh, and yeah, and I don't have to make changes in wardrobe. That was the signing deal.
Like a glove. Joshua, for you.
Well, I was tempted to say plastic surgery week because that was probably the most confrontational storyline for me, just sort of like foisting me on my own petard about some judgments that I make, right? But that scene at the end of 6, so just to go behind the curtain for a second, so the scene that you're talking about is the scene where the throuple becomes a threesome. And given the constraints of being on network television, there are lots and lots of things that you just cannot do, right? That you're not allowed to show. And we wanted to do this scene that was honest and real and sexy, kind of confrontational. And to do that inside of the very strict boundaries of what you can and cannot do on network TV and still make it a good and compelling scene, which I think it was. And it took the 3 of us actors, plus Paris, the director, and then ultimately for Ryan Murphy Television to go to bat in editorial for it as well. But if you watch that scene, we don't break any of the rules of network TV, and yet I think we deliver what is one of the sexier scenes that I've ever seen be presented on network TV, because we're not
100%.
We're not trying to. What I love about that scene is that it understands what the true sexiness in that is. Her power, right? You don't need to see skin. You don't need to see the bump and grind. You need to see this woman in control and see the 2 men responding to her power, and that to me is a sexy and confrontational thing to put on.
And new.
And really new, right? It's not about it's not about us objectifying her at all, right? It's totally the opposite, and it plays out as such. And then I'd like to say something about Captain Massey's authority. So I think it's such a beautiful, like the type of father you are to the show as a character, I think is such a beautiful understanding of respect and authority. And when I think about characters around power, my mind always goes to Darth Vader. It's like kind of the inverse. But Darth Vader, if you take Darth Vader out of context, it's the silliest thing in the world, right? And Darth Vader is not scary because he's walking around in that silly costume with that silly helmet. And I'm a massive fan. Please don't come for me. Darth Vader is scary because everybody around him is scared of him. They're terrified of him. Robert Massey is loved because everybody around him loves him. And it is a testament to who you are off camera, but it also is the type of authority that you have chosen to be on that show. You don't have to flex on everybody, and everybody wants to do their best for you. And I think it's such a beautiful way to present like strong masculinity, and I really appreciate that that's the take that you took.
Sort of perfectly pitched within the twinkle that the show needs, right? And then you just get Don's cheekiness, and you're like, oh, there it is. That's the show. This is the Love Boat 2.0.
Well, I do want to, before we transition totally to the end, I want to agree with your point about when the throuple becomes a threesome and how important it is to see Avery's agency. But it's also the idea that that is a moment where it's not just done for the need to have a sexy scene in a show. There is a real reason that we're seeing this relationship escalate this way, and we're going to continue to see what happens with that as the series progresses.
And you can't, yeah, like, in some ways, the scene is so much better because of the constraints of being on network TV, right? If we were doing it for Netflix or doing it for HBO, that's a completely different scene, right? And you would take off some of the constraints, and I think you would actually lessen the effectiveness.
The dancing wouldn't be the most uncomfortable I'd be if we were on an app. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. And yeah, it comes out of story, right? It comes out of the possibilities of these three people, but it is like, that is her scene, right? And it is actually her arc that keeps us going forward. And I'm really, really proud of us that instead of kind of throwing our hands up and being like, well, you can't do this on network TV, we instead say, okay, well, how do we do this? If these are the parameters, this is the box we have to live within. How can we still tell this story and do it in a compelling way that I think most shows just don't do, right? That you don't see very often. I think we nailed that one. Go team.
Well, thank you for giving us so many things that we don't see very often on television in Dr. Odyssey, and thank you so much for watching this series. For those of you that go home, watch the next week's episode, and the series will back on March 6th. Thank you again.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you.